Well, it's not like we needed any more evidence that the SEC West is just a steaming friggin' pile, but it is. 8 seconds to go until halftime. Ole Miss is up on Bama 17-14. This is just a battle of average teams. That's all it is. Ole Miss is going to return this kick out to the 15. There's going to be 4 seconds to go. Probably just going to take a knee, head to halftime. Ole Miss 17, Bama 14. It has been an interesting and an exciting game so far. This looks like one that might come down to the end. Ole Miss likes to run the ball, and if you're able to do that successfully against Bama, that's obviously a good thing because that keeps Bryce Young and the offense off the field. But overall, Alabama's offense really hasn't played well today. Um, they really struggle to run the ball. Jahmyr Gibbs, and I've talked about this since Alabama signed him. It's not that Jahmyr Gibbs is not a good player. Jahmyr Gibbs is a good player. In fact, in a lot of cases, and in a lot of instances, he's a great player. You know what he's great at? He's great on third down. He's great on a swing pass. He's great returning a kick. He's not an every down between the tackles back. He's not. And now Alabama has switched up. Now in the first quarter of this game, it was nothing but Jahmyr Gibbs in the game. They were running in between the tackles. The guy can't gain a friggin' yard. He weighs a buck 05. It just makes no sense. And now in the second quarter, they put Jace McClellan in. He's a little bit bigger. And he had a little bit more success running between the tackles. Now, again, this does not mean that Jahmyr Gibbs is a terrible football player, a bad running back. That's not what I'm saying. He's a situational player. He's a home run hitter. Yes, you get him the ball in space, he might go 80 yards for a touchdown. You hand the ball to him up the middle, though, he might gain half a yard. He can't break tackles. He just is what it is. Alabama's receivers are just continue to be a hot friggin' mess. Jermaine Burton did have that one touchdown pass. That was just a great throw by Bryce Young is what that was, that slant into the end zone. I mean, hats off to Jermaine Burton for holding on, catching a pass to hit him right in the hands, but that was an amazing throw by Bryce Young. But I do think this is going to be a good game here. 17-14 going to halftime now. Clemson and Louisville started off tight. Clemson was up 10-7. They scored late in the second half to increase the lead. They're up 17-7 at halftime. Michigan is up on Nebraska 17-3, which is interesting because the weather is horrible there. I mean, just absolutely terrible. And somehow Michigan is still up by 14 at halftime and is probably going to win this game by 30 or more points like they're supposed to. Who knows? But like Ohio State man found out earlier today, good teams beat bad teams regardless of the weather. That's just what happens. It's sad that I had to troll Ohio State fans for 2 whole days just to get them to admit and realize that. But that's what I had to do. Made a couple of videos, Ohio State blaming all their losses on the weather. Right on cue, Ohio State comes out today against Indiana in terrible weather and blows them out. All the Ohio State fans come running like cockroaches and somebody turned the light on. Ah ha ha ha, Ohio State blew out Indiana. I know. Because weather doesn't matter. A really good team is going to beat a really bad team by a lot of points. It doesn't matter if the wind is loud or whatever kind of excuses y'all were making. The reality is, Ohio State just got humiliated by a better team last year against Michigan. That's all. That game could have been played on the moon. It wouldn't have mattered. Michigan was just better. Last year against Nebraska, you just played a terrible game. That's all. It wasn't because your moon's in Cancer or whatever, because all this weird kind of astrological shit and some kind of area of low pressure, that had nothing to do with it. You just played bad. Nebraska almost beat you. This year, the Northwestern game, your lines of scrimmage just played bad. That's it. It had nothing to do with wind. Nothing. That's not why your lines of scrimmage played bad. They just played bad. And today, when you came out and played really, really good, that also wasn't because it was bad weather. You just came out and played good. So I'm glad y'all finally understand that great teams play great no matter the weather. Glad y'all finally get that and understand that. It's a shame that it took me 24 straight hours of trolling the soul out of you to get you to realize it, but thank God you finally did. Welcome to the world of the sane. What else? Penn State's all over Maryland 24-0. What a shock. NC State up on Boston College 17-7. Central Florida's beating Tulane 24-14. I picked Tulane in that one. Home game for Tulane, too. Thought Tulane would beat them. Shout out to the Green Wave. Maybe they'll come back in the second half. I don't know. Oklahoma State's beating Iowa State 10-7. Yeah, slap yourself in the back of the neck if you're watching that game. There's just no reason to. And the same thing here. Iowa 14, Wisconsin 10. The hell is even why is no one's watching that? Miami's beating Georgia Tech 14-7 in who gives a shit bowl. Just two horrible garbage teams here. But turns out a horrible garbage team with a first-year head coach might be a little bit better than a horrible garbage team with no head coach at all. Miami 14, Georgia Tech 7. Third quarter just underway. In that one. Florida all over South Carolina. Wow, 24-0. Now, would it be funny if Florida lost? Of course. It's always funny when Florida loses. And fuck Sunbelt Billy, too. He still doesn't know what he's doing. But I actually have two bets involving South Carolina that I made in the offseason. One of them is that South Carolina will win less than 6.5 games, right? Over under 6.5. Well, they're at 6-3 right now. So if South Carolina wins even one more game, I lose that bet. That's the bad news. The good news is they're losing 24-0 at Florida right now. Next week, they play the Tard Man. That's right, they play Tennessee. Shout out to all my Tennessee fans, too. Some of my most loyal typers in comment section minions. Y'all are good people. Look, we all have a job to do. It's my job to talk. It's your job to type, and y'all do a hell of a job, Tennessee fans. Sorry, Patreon people. I just hit the microphone on accident. Probably destroyed some ears in that. Didn't mean to. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, so I need South Carolina to lose the rest of their games. So losing today 24-0. They play Tennessee this coming week, and then they play Clemson after that. So they're probably going to lose all three of those games, and Uncle Lou's bet of South Carolina winning less than 6.5 games will end up being a winner, most likely, what it looks like. Oh, my God. Carolina done scored 24-6 now. About to be 7 after the extra point, I guess. I guess is what that means. Anyway, great games on. I'm streaming over on the Patreon page. So if you're a Patreon member and you're not hanging out over here with us on the Patreon stream, what are you doing? Go to the Patreon page, click the link, and come hang out with us and watch the second half of these 3:30 games. I will be streaming tonight the primetime games live right here on YouTube. For you, your mother, God, and Jesus, and everyone else to come hang out and watch, starting at 7 o'clock right here on the channel. That's the Georgia-Mississippi State game at 7. You got Texas TCU tonight. You got some great games tonight. What game? Let's see what we have tonight. Let's see. Let's schedule the games here. Georgia and Mississippi State. Washington and Oregon. This could be a great game. Tennessee fans ought to be interested in that one, I would think. Washington and Oregon. Kansas State at Baylor. Kansas at Texas Tech, TCU at Texas, North Carolina at Wake Forest, Texas A&M at Auburn. I mean, a bunch of great games. Florida State at Syracuse. So starting at 7 o'clock right here on this channel, I'll be live streaming the primetime game, starting with Georgia-Mississippi State at 7. But I don't just watch that game. I mean, I have all the games on it here. It's unbelievable. I would just watch 100 games a day. It's amazing. I just drown in college football. It's a sickness and a disease. And I, for one, am happy to be afflicted with it. So, anyway, bottom line is, Bama losing to Ole Miss. Well, my God, what a shock. I can't wait to see the Alabama post-game press conference if they lose, right? Nick Saban up there with his handler. Alabama's out here going for it on 4th down in the first quarter of the game. Desperation type shit that you never thought you'd see from the Gumps. But then the camera pans over to Nick Saban on the sideline, and there he is with his stupid fucking chart that he was talking about in his press conference last week. My God. What has happened to Nick Saban, man? The guy's reading off a chart now to make decisions. Look, I don't really give a shit how mad this makes Alabama fans. It's just true at this point, okay? I just want you to understand the difference between two things. There's a difference between being the greatest of all time and being the greatest right now, okay? Great example of this is happening in the NFL right now. Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL, period. He's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. He's not the best quarterback in the NFL today, though. And guess who else ain't the best today? Nick Saban. Nick Saban is not the best coach in college football today. He's not. The guy's reading off of a chart. He's not even allowed to pick out his own jello flavor anymore. So I don't know. So I can't wait to the post-game press conference. You see him up there with his handler standing next to him. Notre Dame had to survive an onside kick at the end of the game to beat Navy, but they somehow blew out the Tater Man. Jesus, man. What has happened to Clemson and Alabama? How old are you? Let me know in the comment section. How old are you? And are you old enough to remember when Alabama and Clemson used to be good? All right, talk to y'all later.